Today we're looking at this heavy-duty drum rotator designed to lift and tip drums. This unit is rated at 500 kilograms and designed to tip drums in a very heavy-duty industrial environment. The difference compared to some of our other machines is this unit has hydraulic rams which are forcibly rotating the drum. So we have a very solid heavy-duty band, goes around the belly of the drum. We have two rim clamps. These grip the top lip of the drum and support it, and then our tipping rams on either side of the head. The customer this was developed for has a pallet similar to this with 3 drums laid out, and they need to be able to take one drum off the side, off the long face of the pallet, and then lift the other 2 drums from the corner. So to do this, what we do, we open up our band assembly so the doors are open and we have access into the band. We then drive the unit forward, the legs go around the pallet and the band goes around the drum. Once the drum's fully into the band, obviously we can't close our doors because these pallets are blocking the doors from closing. So what we do is we have our 2 rim clamps which we attach, and these grip the top lip of the drum and basically allow us to lift the drum clear of the pallet before we actually get into the rotation phase. So we tighten that one down, doesn't need to be too tight, just nice and snug. On this side, again lifting our rim clamp over so it hooks under the lip of the drum and over the top of the drum, and then tighten down our wing nut on the top. Like so. So we've got our rim clamp on either side. That means the drum's nice and supported. So we can come to our tiller here. On our tiller we have a lift and lower button. So we can go lift. We don't need to lift it too high because we're simply trying to remove it from a pallet. So I'm going to reverse the unit. And then we're going to place it down on the floor. With the drum on the floor, I can come round. I can close our band here, make sure you've got a good view. So we close our band. This is called an over-centre band. So we basically bring our locking mechanism in, keep our pin clear, and we rotate the handle into the over-centre position. We then take our locking pin, put it in the hole and flick it over, and that prevents this from being unlocked at any time. So we actively need to remove the pin before we can release the drum. What it means now, the drum's held at the top, held at the belly. This drum could weigh 500 kilos, so it's really secure, very safe. What we're going to do now, we're going to show you a different view lifting from the corner of the pallet, and then later on we'll tip these drums into a vessel which we'll bring into the shop separately. You can see now we're facing the corner of the pallet, so this is simulating us approaching drums from the corner as well as from the side. Again, we have our band open at the front. We drive the unit forward nice and gently. Got a lot of control with the throttles on here, so when we're travelling long distance we can move really fast, or we can move nice and gently just by controlling the throttle with our thumb. So again, as before, we're going to bring our rim clamps up, connect these over the top of the drum and clamp them down. We'll show you later in the video the adjustment as a close-up of how you adjust the rim clamps and the band and everything like that. That's one rim clamp, and same on the other side. If you're using the same type of drum each time, you don't need to adjust them, but if you're changing between plastic and steel, you need to adjust them slightly. So doors open, rim clamps on, secured, we're ready to lift clear of the pallet. Tiller down, pressing our lift button. Clear of the pallet and reversing. Lower down. So now what we're going to do is bring our doors closed again. Bring that door around there. Closing it over, hooking it in, and fitting our securing pin. We'll now get our vessel and show you how we tip these drums. We're now here with our vessel and our Mauser drum. We've removed the lid from the drum and we've got our drums full of water today. So we're secured, ready to lift. Press our lift button on the panel. Could drive forward a little bit just to bring the drum slightly closer to the vessel. We have our lift controls on the tiller, but our tip functions are on the panel here. So we simply press our tip control. If needed, we can always drive forward just to bring the drum right over the vessel. We'll now swap this out for our steel open top drum and empty that into the vessel as well. We press our lift button. Once we're at full height, press our tip function. And lower down. We're now going to show you a close-up of the head and how we adjust it for different drums. So we've got this empty Mauser drum, it's completely empty. I'm going to lift it into the head there, it's fully in the band. Now, when we're securing this, these rim clamps, we may happen to have drums of different heights. So what we can do, I'll just close that door to show you, is we have a securing pin here, and this rim clamp can be moved up and down. So what I do is I take this locking pin out, I hold the rim clamp with one hand, and I take this pin out, like so. With this pin out, the rim clamp actually comes away completely. But you can see we have all these holes, different hole positions, so we can set this at a different height. So what I'm going to do, slot it in position, put our pin in, and I'll show you how we determine the correct height. So what we want to basically be doing is lifting the underside up to the bottom lip of a drum. We then lift it over the top, and that's a good fit. So just by accident, I've selected the correct hole. But if we wanted to set it for a lower drum, we would lift it out, take the pin out, move it down, and put the pin back in. Once we've got the right position, we just fit our locking pin again. So we've got a simple hole, put that through, this is called an R-clip, and that locks it in position. So that's how we adjust the height, but obviously we need to actually attach this to the drum. So to do that, I recommend just lifting that bottom piece and then adjusting down our wing nut. The wing nut doesn't need to be too tight, it just needs to be nice and snug. That's tight on there. This one I already adjusted, so it's the correct height. Again, the bottom piece under the lip of the drum, lifting it over, and then locking our wing nut in position. This model's been designed to handle drums from 200 litres up to 220. So we can adjust it depending on the drum height, but it's generally for larger drums, this model. So the band, just to show you the band, so we've got our open position, and then if we want to close the band, bring each door around like so. And this is our over-centre clamping mechanism. I'm going to come on this side to give you a better view. We've got our locking pin here, which is an over-centre locking pin. I'll take that out. And in this mechanism, you can see a thread here. So depending on the diameter of the drum and how large the diameter is, we may need to have these bands slightly further apart or slightly closer together. By rotating this handle, we're basically tightening the band because we're shortening the distance we need to clamp it. So rotating it clockwise makes it tighter, and rotating it anti-clockwise makes it looser. To secure it, we take our hook section, slot it into the band, and pull it over centre, sorry. In the over-centred position, this is actually reasonably hard to remove, but our locking pin is an extra safety feature to ensure that can't be undone. So with this secured and tight, the rim clamps fixed, we're ready to tip this drum. We're now looking at the rear control panel of the unit. To switch the unit on, we take our key, twist it clockwise to turn the machine on. We can see the machine's on because our indicator here shows our battery meter, which shows the state of charge of the batteries. It's important we keep the batteries charged when the unit is not in use, and if the batteries become depleted, we check their health and replace as necessary. We have our tiller here, which I'm holding, and we have our lift and lower buttons here. So with a drum in the head, we can lift and lower. We have a horn in the centre, and we have these butterfly throttles for driving forward and backwards with our thumbs. We also have a safety switch on the back, which should we reverse the machine into our body, this will change the direction of travel as a safety feature. On the panel, we also have our tipping controls, tip and rotate, and you'll notice this red light is illuminated saying rotation disabled. This customer wanted to ensure that when drums were being rotated, they couldn't be rotated at low level near the floor. So what we'll do now is we'll lift up the drum in the head, and you can see once we're clear of the floor, this light goes out, and we can now use the tip and rotate buttons. Tip forward and tip backwards. On the right side of the unit here, we have our charging connector, so we connect this to our mains power supply. The charger is built into the machine, and we have a light to indicate that the unit is charging. On the top, we have our emergency stop button. We press this down, and this cuts all power to the machine. We then lift it up to reset the machine and bring the power back.